I'm going to pre-say I'm going to swear a lot because is in most slides in my deck, and I am apologies if you are offended, but you. I also watched your talk. It's amazing. I now feel so dumb. So I'm going to swear a lot to make up for my lack of intelligence. Also, you work for Rogers, who I've just texted, and your talk was amazing. Thank you very much. My name's Ross McAthy. I run a company called Ringside Data. We are a marketing data platform. We kind of compete with GA. If you hate GA4, yay? Of course. Yep, cool. Speak to me at some point. Unfortunately, the next talk, I feel a little bit bad for the next speaker, but I did say I was going to make that joke. Okay, so there's a bunch of people here who are going to talk about data. I'm not going to speak about my platform other than there's 2 slides halfway through. I also said, and I spoke to Anu at SMX London, and she was like, can you speak at my next event? And I was like, yes, of course. Are you going to speak about PPC? No. And she still said, I can come and speak, which is amazing. So, first part, there are 3 parts to my presentation. The first part is how you guys can your KPIs, right? Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is Napoleon. Now, everyone knows who Napoleon is, yeah? Yeah, cool. He was short, right? That's a known fact. Yes, sir. He was 5'2". Now, I'm not trying to be sizist, but 5'2" is reasonably short. And so that's why he's known as being short. Now, does anyone here know that 5'2" is actually 5'2" in French feet? And in every other country, 5'2" is actually 5'6.5". That's the why we all think he's short, is that isn't the imperial measurements for feet. It's a completely different measurement. And 5'6" was actually the average size for a male guy in France at the time. So exactly. So it's not actually, he wasn't short.
I'm the only French here.
I like how you just confidently said you're the only French person in the room. Like you've got a badge or something. Only French person? Ah! We have 2 French people! Cool. So he wasn't actually short, and yet everyone thinks he's short. Okay. I also promised you I wouldn't be drinking. Because last time I did the whole talk with a beer, and she didn't like the photos. So, who here knows which is the larger? Is a pint in the US the same size as a pint in the UK? Or is it larger or bigger? Who knows? UK, is that just British pride? Is that what that is? It has to be bigger. It's amazing. I did this same talk last week and it was mainly Americans. And they were like, well, UK's bigger, US is bigger, obviously. Okay, a UK pint is larger than the US pint, right? That's why we're alcoholics compared to US. That's why they can't drink. Okay, so now we get technical. Which is bigger, a UK fluid ounce or a US fluid ounce? You knew the answer. I did set that up a little bit. So the US has a larger fluid ounce, which makes no sense. So, big question now. How many pints high is Napoleon? Napoleon is 11.3 pints high, and that is statistically correct. We worked it out. Okay, so why am I talking about this? Well, the biggest issue we have, and we see this all the time, is that we talk about KPIs as standardized forms of measurement, but they are not. I've just spoken about feet, I've spoken about pints, and I've spoken about fluid ounces, and they're not the same thing. So, does KPI stand for key performance indicator, or does KPI stand for kept purposely incomprehensible? And that's the first time I've done this talk, and I've not fucked that up. Cool. So, everyone here knows how to calculate add to basket rate. Yep. There's nodding. I want them vocals. Yes? Everyone knows that. So you have this super widget. You want to work out how many people clicked on that and went to there. Yeah? Cool? So we did this thing. We made a funnel. It's really pretty. Cool. So there are, I'm just skipping over my sales deck. My CMO is going to be really livid. There are at least 4 ways that you can do this. We've actually found 29. There are 29 different ways that we found that people have asked us to work out add to cart rate. Okay, so the first one. And I kind of want people to, I want to see some visible nods as we go through this. That's how I do it, okay? So we count if a person at any point in their journey sees a product page and then they add to cart. Who here would think that that's the way that you would count add to cart? We count one here, one here. There's a couple of, yeah? Yeah? Go on, I'm going to give you the second one. You've gone a little bit early. Okay, you've added something to your cart, but then later on, in a future visit, you've added, you've viewed a product, and then later on, you've added something to cart outside that visit. Anyone here? Okay, cool. I had about 400 people, and I had 2 that said this one. Cool. This is the mental one. I had 2 completely different clients, different sectors, use this one. Someone viewed these 3 products. They added that 3rd product to the cart. That counted as 3. That is mental. And then they had a 4th product view. This is legitimate ways brands are capturing their add to cart. And the last one, viewed product A, viewed product B, viewed product C, added product C to the cart, viewed product D. Is that that's probably more nods across the group. Okay, very different add to cart rates, right? And then on top of that, well, each one of them will have a very different add to cart rate based on the product that you're looking at. So each product will have a very different add to cart rate. Who here's, like, this is a question, who here knows what this type of chart's called? I'm a massive nerd, by the way. Does anyone know what this type of chart's called? Because it's sexy. It's a sexy chart. That was an interesting laugh. It's called a violin chart. Sexy chart. So it shows you the distribution of the data. So you see this scatter plot here is kind of saying that here is where the median is, but you should see the lower and upper quartiles. What this is really good at showing is when you compare different data sets where you have a very broad section of data. So for add to cart, you can see where you have very different products. So here are all of the different products for a brand, and you can see where the distribution is. So if you moused over any of these, you could see that product is a very high add to cart rate. So which one of those is the correct one? Because Anu went early with number 1 out of 4. It's a bold approach to this, right? There are 4 of them. Which one is correct? Pardon? The biggest one. That is a CEO answering that question. Yeah. It depends, which is the worst answer to any question ever, but it depends who's asking, right? Because if you're looking at the option 1, that's the management answer, is I just want to know how many people came to the website, and of those people who came to the website, how many of those went to added something to their cart. Number 4 is the specific user. So this is where you've got the merchandising question. So how many people viewed a product and they added that specific item to their cart? And then the second and third and fourth one are all kind of user experience and understanding how the website works. The biggest thing here is the numbers have no way of speaking for themselves. We, as data people, and as much as like you all consider yourselves PPC people, unlike the SEO crowd, which I'm going to shit on for 2 seconds, like the PPC crowd are way more data literate than the SEO crowd. They're the fluffy crowd. You guys understand data. So you guys know, I'm going to piss off half of my audience, but we have to make sure that we imbue data with meaning. That makes this so much more valuable. So what's fucked? We're at number 1 of 3 things that are fucked right now. Number 1, KPIs. We need to make sure that they're no longer purposefully incomprehensible. Can't believe I got that right. So we need to make sure that our KPI calculations are communicated better. So we need to make sure the naming conventions are better. Because everyone was like, yes, I know how to do my add to cart rate, but there are at least 4 and there are many more that we can talk about. So the next one. I'm sorry, PPC people, but you do have to give a shit about people who are existing customers. You can't just go over new business all the time, right? So we need to unfuck your customer retention. So we know, right? You know this. You don't just focus on new customers. We know how important it is to go after existing customers, right? Yeah? Yeah? I'm loving your vibe. It's a strong vibe. Okay, some numbers, guys, right? The blended CVR for this brand is 2.53. A new customer is 2.4. Existing customer is 3.57. Everyone cool? Yes, great. We're spending €1, I forgot I changed this, euro and 28 cents for that individual cost per visit. It is costing us 5 times more for a new customer. That's fucked up. Why are we spending so much time looking at new customers? Why are we not spending a little bit of time focused on non-new customers, the existing customers? We should be spending a little bit more time investing in those users. Very blended across 20 different clients, data, it's a load of bollocks, but I'm just going to use it as a theme right now. 47% of new customers converted in their first visit in e-commerce brands. They came in, they saw, they bought. This is on lower AOV brands that we work with in e-com. The interesting bit here is only 17% of existing customers convert their first visit after a previous conversion. So they're very unlikely to convert when they come back the first time, which means that they're engaging with that brand. They want more content. They are looking for customer satisfaction as part of that initial visit after the fact that they're converted. We need to talk to those people very differently than we were previously. So the game that we're playing is what is the most efficient way to bring someone back to the website. Okay, so we need to segment those customers better. Who here knows what RFM is? PPC crowd, I'm expecting at least one hand, guys. Come on. Someone must know what RFM is. Someone must be in the industry more than 10 years. Come on. Yes! There was a nervous person who put their hand up late. I'm all in. What? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Woo! I would say I'll get you a drink, but it's free anyway. Okay, recency, frequency, and you did it in the right order, which is obvious because it's RFM. Okay, so for everyone else, this is as old as marketing, right? So pre-newspaper, we did RFM. And we still use it now, but not apparently that often. This is a really good way of understanding and segmenting customers, right? And I'm going to talk you through it, and I'll send this deck round, and you can send it around an email as well, so you can take this back to your businesses and your agencies. First thing, what was the most recent purchase for this customer? The next thing, frequency. How many times has this customer purchased over their lifetime with that brand? Next one, monetary. What is the total monetary value of this customer? How much money have they generated with that business? You can do this with any company because you have the raw data in their order database. You don't have to have that data in analytics or whatever. This is just purely their sales data. It goes back as long as that company's existed. This works for companies that are 3 months old. It works for companies that are 30 years old, right? Once you block those customers into those segments, you can then group them on a grid. So you know how those customers have engaged with you, how recent they have. So recency 1, a long time ago. Recency 5, very recent. You have frequency and monetary aggregated together. So monetary and frequency 1, they've just converted. Low frequency, 1, 2, 3 conversions, very low revenue. Bottom right, brand new customers, not worth that much to you yet. People have just absolutely spanked their bank. On the top right, I have to be careful how I say that. On the top right are your champions. They're the ones who've recently keep on purchasing. I thought that was a person, and that is a piece of wood. And then you go through this flow of there's different groups of people, and this is how a lot of people in the BI space, in finance, also have a really clear understanding of this. So it's a really good way of segmenting those customers so you can speak to them differently as much as you can target them differently. And I press the wrong button. So we can use that data and target people so differently. So if you overlay website conversion rate segmented by those customers, something really interesting happens. Low CVR on these people who have just purchased. Super high CVR, people who have not purchased for a long time who are high revenue. Super high CVR, people who have just purchased, high revenue. The story that you need to take from this is these people have spent low amounts of money. They're still testing the brand out. They don't understand whether you're actually a viable customer for your brand. If they're willing to spend a lot of money in that first purchase, you're likely going to bring them back. If they've not been to the website for a long time, you're going to spend a lot of time in that reacquisition cost of driving those customers back. But the conversion rate is going to be really high. So if you can go and find them and bring them back, CVR is going to be high. I think I just said the same thing. You can push this into your CRM systems. You can also, I realized I'm pressing the wrong button. You can push the propensity scores back into paid audiences. There's the PPC reference.
Thank you.
So you can push the propensity to convert back into Google Ads. You can push it back into Meta. So you can then say, well, that person's in that segment, therefore we're going to make them more likely to convert. The world is your oyster. My CTO really loved that picture. Cool. So what's just dealing with existing customers as existing customers. We can fix that using RFM. Cool. How do we unfuck ROI calculations? Who here does ROI at the moment? This is my drink. Do you actually? Okay, you do. Cool. Who here has a brand that they work with or they run a brand that has influencer cost? Really? It's 2025. Surely someone here has influencers. Okay. Influencers for this brand was that for a week. I should have become an influencer. Like that's not just one influencer, that's a few hundred. But like what we need to do is take into consideration the media cost associated with influencers, other channels that aren't just Google Ads. There are many other channels, Meta being obvious one, but there are costs associated with other channels as well. You pay your PPC, your SEO agency. There is costs associated with that. The other thing is, a lot of brands have costs that aren't just revenue. So does anyone here load margin or COGS into their logic? Yeah? That is so uncommon still that people actually look at the cost of goods sold. So that's what I said, COGS. I'm always told off for using acronyms. So cost of goods sold is if you have, let's just say e-commerce, you're selling a jacket that's sold for 200 euros, but the jacket actually cost them 40 euros to make. Therefore, there is 160 profit margin, whatever you want to call. The thing you need to be careful of, especially in a marketing space, is who you're speaking to. So going back to when I'm talking earlier about the add to basket rate, if you start talking about margin to someone in finance, they're like, you don't know how many other costs there are. So you have to be careful when you're talking about margin and gross margin, and there's so many other words that I don't understand in the finance space. So be careful with that. But from a ROAS perspective, there's a massive difference between return on ad spend, which makes sense, right? ROAS, return on ad spend. Why did the industry decide that MOAS and POAS stood for margin of ad spend or profit of ad spend? Doesn't make sense, but we've decided that they're the acronyms we're going to use. You need to take into consideration the cost of goods sold. It's a massive influence on this. Then we can dig deeper. So, who here was aware of the influence honey scandal? Yeah? What a fucking joke. There's a bunch of influencers that are moaning that honey stole their money. Completely comical. But we had a bunch of clients that had a lot of influencers involved, and this is the affiliate visit in this that was an influencer in this case. This affiliate claimed 100% of that conversion. These are all of the visits, right? So there's a group here, and you're all looking, paid search. Yeah. Paid search at the top. Right. How much of the £260? Yes, £260 of this conversion do you think went to the affiliate? According to the affiliate. Pardon? Everyone's quiet. Come on. All of it, of course. How much do you think Google Ads said? All of it, of course. How much do you think the brand actually wanted to give it? None of it, right? Yeah, because they don't want to pay the affiliate the commissions. How much should they have got?
Only if it's a new customer.
If it's a new customer, that's not an answer I've had before. Good answer though. What if I was to, this is a different scenario, guys, right? Every single one of these visits is a bounce until the last one. What credit would you give to the other visits?
Depends on your attribution model.
It does. Most of the attribution models are shit, but we can have that conversation later. So if all of these were bounces and this was not a bounce and the person converted, your default response is to go, well, we're not going to give credit to any of these because they were all bounced visits, right? So why do we not look at what happened in those visits when we're talking about attribution? We just talk about visits and the counter visits. We don't talk about what happened in them. And that's because Google has brainwashed all of you to think visits are important. Why don't we look at what happens in those visits themselves? Because I don't know if any of you have read the words here, because that's not what I do when I present slides, but like this user added items to cart throughout this journey. So each one of those visits has different value. So when we actually look at how much we want to pay that affiliate, we want to distribute the value of that conversion based on what that customer actually did within those visits. Not just that they exist, but like, did they view multiple products? Did they actually navigate to the bits that show that that person is likely to convert in the future? And this is what we really need from attribution. Because this distribution means that this isn't a U-shaped model or a bathtub model, which apparently was a thing. It's not first touch, it's not last touch. Like, this is looking at the value of every single touch point and saying, this user did this, that's what they're telling us. They're saying, this visit that I did was important. This visit wasn't as important. And you'll see here, the visit before the converting visit got more credit than the converting visit. And of course, I found an example that was interesting when I put this screenshot in, but this happens a lot. And the affiliate visit, not much at all. But that's the commission that we wanted to pay them. So one of the big things here is about strategic thinking, is aligning strategy to the approach, because it's not about last click. Who's seen this before? ABC, SLA. Cool, because I made this up 10 years ago, and if you've seen it and you've seen it, great, because it's spreading. ABC is easy to remember. SLA, service level agreement. How satisfied someone is when they convert, how loyal they are. Are they going to come back again multiple times? And are they going to become an advocate for the brand? The top part is very common. There's many different acronyms there for ABC. But we've got 3 different brands here with very different approaches. And especially if we're talking about understanding the role of a marketing function through the entire attribution model, we need to look at the role that each one of those ABCs have, as well as the SLAs. This brand is not investing in their existing customers much. The brand on the right is doing way more at driving conversions, but at least they're investing a little bit post-funnel activity as well. So that was me saying it, and we haven't changed the name, but I said it in Hungary last week, so I quoted myself. How do we unfuck this? So we're not understanding return on investment properly because we've got revenue, we need margin, we need attributed margin. We don't just need normal last click. Last click sucks. It's ridiculous. If you're still using last click this year, come and speak to me afterwards. So we've learned a bunch of stuff. AI is so good at making dinosaur pictures. I don't know if you played with it, but dinosaur pictures are amazing. If you noticed earlier, and I'll send the deck round, but the eyebrow, the dinosaur went up if you didn't notice on a previous slide, which was, can you make his eyebrow go up? And it just did it. It's amazing. So KPIs, you need to understand KPIs better. Segmenting new and existing is not as simple as just saying that. If you're not looking at RFM, which only one person in the room even knew what it meant, so you should be considering that in your sort of learning and how you take on this industry. And return on investment is not just about understanding ROI, it's about understanding the attributive value of everything as well. Thank you very much. And that's the bit about how PayPal Honey isn't just about PayPal Honey and influencers can go f*** themselves.